Picture a rubber band going around the two of you. And there will be times in the relationship where one of you is pulling forward. And what's going to end up happening is you will get that tension between you. And two things are going to happen. Either that tension is going to break, which means that relationship just could not sustain the change that was happening, or that tension is going to force them forward. Whether they like it or not, they're gonna, go along with you. I would go forward 5-10 steps and he would pull against it and like, no, I'm not ready. But the more that I was just like, you know what, he'll catch up when he catches up, the faster he would catch up.
Have an interesting show for you today. Our next guest, Tara Wagner, is a long-term entrepreneur. She's been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades, and she specializes in helping entrepreneurs build their business. Not only does she help entrepreneurs build their business, she helps entrepreneurs manage the stress that comes with building a business and also the stress that comes with managing a business while being in a relationship. And if not handled correctly, it can negatively impact your relationships as well. Now, before we get into the show, over 90% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. Hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell. Also, if you're listening on any of the streaming networks, make sure you follow us and give us a 5-star review. Anyways, my name is Duran Brown, and this is the podcast, Philosophy for Life. Okay, so Tara, I've been checking out your channel, and the feeling that I get is that you're a kind of unique entrepreneur coach. You kind of focus more on the I want to say like the spiritual healthy type of side, people who their mental well-being. One of the constant, go ahead, what was that?
I was just saying, yeah, that's a big part of it for sure.
And something I constantly heard on your page was like burnout. So because you mentioned it so many times, I'm guessing that you went through burnout probably more than once. And I want to know, like, how did you handle burnout when you first went through your entrepreneurial journey? Because I'm pretty much at this stage in my journey now. So I'm pretty sure that you could have some healthy advice for me.
Well, and I'll be honest, today's, like, so many people are going through burnout right now because the world is just hectic, crazy. There's the news cycles, there's life, there's, we just got through the pandemic that put an intense strain on people. And when you don't have skills to kind of down regulate your nervous system, you're going to be more apt to burn out. And if you're an entrepreneur, you've got more on your plate. Your mind is constantly going. You are always on. So yes, I burned out hard. How did I deal with it? I cried a lot. I curled up in a ball. I thought there was something wrong with me. This was the first time. This was after 8 years in business. I was so burned out. I actually created a lot of the health conditions that I still deal with today because I drove my body into the ground, because that's the good advice, right? That's what people say you have to do if you want to be successful. And so, yes, I do things very differently than a lot of other business coaches for that matter. I think that a lot of people are not taking into account their values when they are deciding how to spend their time or what kind of business they want to build. And if you don't take into account your values and what success means to you, you're going to end up doing what the rest of the world is doing, which is grinding nonstop or trying a bunch of different things because somebody said it's popular and you got to be on Instagram, you got to be on TikTok. And it might not be right for you. It might not be right for your audience. It might not be right for your business. There's just too many things you could be doing that will lead to burnout if you're not very mindful about your choices.
You know who the king of that is Gary Vee.
I do.
I was watching him yesterday, and I think he said make 8 posts a day on all social media platforms, 8 posts a day. And I was thinking, like, I'm already overwhelmed with the amount that I already post on the social media. I use Buffer to help me schedule everything. But I was like, man, how do you think of 8 things a day?
So, what people don't realize is that Gary Vee is some weird superhuman, and most people cannot do that or cannot sustain that for a long period of time. You might be in the honeymoon phase of your business and be so amped up and like, yeah, I've got tons of ideas. I'm going to just crank this out. I'm going to put it everywhere. And then after a couple years, you're like, I can't sustain this, because as a business owner, you are not just an influencer. Your whole business is not just social media. You have clients, you might have products that you are creating or trying to produce. You've got bookkeeping, you've got admin, you've got a team that you're trying to manage. So you've got all of these other things. Social media should be a tool that we use to help us grow our business. But in most businesses, it is not the business itself. It is one marketing avenue that somebody can choose. And it doesn't even have to be the one that you choose, because some people really don't like when I say this, but social media is still pretty new. There's a lot of businesses out there
Yeah.
that still are growing great. I know 6, 7, 8-figure businesses that are not on social media or barely on social media, because there's still other ways to build the business. So if it works for you, fantastic. If it doesn't work for you, find another option, because it doesn't have to look a certain way.
Great advice. One of the things that I hear is, well, I don't hear a lot is sacrifice. I've heard people say, yeah, you have to sacrifice your friends, you have to sacrifice your hobby, you have to put a lot more time into your business.
Those
But a
are the
lot of people
worst
don't
things
go.
to sacrifice.
Those are things that keep you above water.
Exactly.
But I
Those are the things
know
that fill your cup so that you have energy to give back to your business or your clients.
exactly that rejuvenates you. You know, Gary V, just because I was just thinking as you were speaking, he talks a lot about hustling, but I do know that he had a divorce recently.
Oh,
So I know that, and he
yeah.
doesn't really go into
Takes its
detail about it,
toll.
but I'm pretty sure that his hustle mindset has impacted his business has impacted his marriage on some level.
I
It
don't know
had
how it
to.
couldn't. I mean, when I was
Yeah.
at the worst of my burnout, our marriage was suffering. Like we've been together now for 23 years. So at the time we were together for about 8 years, and we were struggling because if I was not working, I was tired, or my mind was still at work. I was cranky. I wasn't present. I wasn't
Mm.
investing in that relationship. Relationships take work. And so, I talk about the entrepreneur's dilemma, which is like family, friends, fitness, sleep, your health. Choose 3 of them, right? And that's how most of us feel. It's like, how do I choose between all these things that are important to me? And the thing is that yes, you will make sacrifices, but they should not be, again, they shouldn't be your values. It shouldn't be your relationships. You might sacrifice a hobby or do less of it. You might sacrifice, instead of picking up the kids every day from school, I'm going to trade off with another parent. Or there's little things like that that you can sacrifice. You should definitely sacrifice bad habits. Those should be sacrificed
Mm.
first. But when it comes to the things that feed you and that keep you whole, again, I go back to, what's your definition of success? My definition of success is not divorce. It's not family counseling. It's not being sick. My definition of success is flexibility. It's freedom. It's great experiences with people that I love. I can have that and have a successful business. It just gets to look a different way. And it does not, Gary Vee is great for some people. If you are loving Gary Vee right now, if he is filling your cup and keeping you going, fantastic. The only thing that I would say is, make sure that you look at whoever you are looking at, make sure you look at their life and their values and ask yourself, is that the result that I want? Is that the definition of success that I want? Because if it's not, then don't emulate the person.
Gary Vee does pump me up.
He
I'm
does.
just thinking, I'm thinking
Same.
like, yeah, I'm thinking like last week, I was actually, when he did say, make these 8 posts a day. And I've been doing a pretty good job at what I like to do is I like to bulk create, put
Yep.
things like months ahead, and then
Smart.
every week I just create one, and it keeps
Smart.
me balanced. But I was actually trying to I was doing something, and I felt like as I was actually creating content, I felt myself get overwhelmed. And I
Mhm.
like I know when I get overwhelmed because I get hungry, I start wanting to get food, beef jerky,
Yeah.
any kind of like snack that I can get on, and I just to
Yeah.
keep to fuel me. And then it just registered to me like when I get to that stage, I know that I need to slow down.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like what kind of, because you said you hit your burnout 8
Mhm.
years down the road. Like how
Yeah.
long did it take your business to actually become profitable to the point where you can leave your
Oh,
full-time job?
That business was always my full-time job, and it was never profitable.
Okay. Oh,
It
wow.
was burning out. Probably I started burning out probably about 5.5 or 6 years in, and kept pushing for few more years. I was a mobile massage therapist, so the last year I closed down the business and just saw my own clients, and I couldn't even maintain that. I was so burnt out. Um, the gosh, yeah,
Take your time.
I am. Hmm. Repeat the question again.
I wanted to know how long it took you to be profitable, but you said you
Mm,
weren't. You said
yes.
that you weren't really that profitable. So I'm wondering what kept you going that
What kept me
long, and you
going
were able to live on it.
was the dream. It was the idea of, well, this is just what it take. Like you just put in the time and the energy and you put the money back into the business, and you wait for that someday, it's gonna explode. It's gonna, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, but it doesn't. Like if you don't, you should be profitable. In my opinion, you should be profitable within your first year, if not early in your first year. I that book by Michael, can never remember his last name, Profit First, where he talks about the importance of taking a profit from your business from day one. Because if you don't give yourself something, if you're not filling your cup, you're going to burn out. Now, does that at times need to change? Are there times where you will put the profit back into the business to grow it? Yes, that should be for a short period of time. Or is there times where you decide to, if you are not taking that profit, or excuse me, if you are taking that profit, you might move a little bit slower because you're not reinvesting it back in the business. But slow and sustainable is always going to be better than crashing yourself right into a wall. So for
Agreed.
me, my first business never got to be profitable. I burnt out. I couldn't sustain it. My next business, I learned very quickly. Like that was, I was like, I can't do that again. Mostly because of the dark night of the soul that puts you through, because it
Hmm.
changes your perception of who you think you are. You go into it like, I've got this, I can do it. And then you're like, well, crap, I can't. What's wrong with me? Everybody else can do it. Why can't I?
Okay, so your second business, that profitable?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
right
how
now
did it?
I run a
Go
multi
ahead.
six-figure business, and I work between 5 and 20 hours a week. And the whole business was
Lovely.
designed around my values and my freedom. So I could potentially be making more right now if I wanted to put more into it. I'm
Hmm.
taking my time. Like I'm pacing myself because I am working according to my values. I'm at my level of success right now, and I'm moving at the pace I want to move, that honors my health, that honors my family, that honors my other goals.
How long did it take you? Because I started a business. I'm my profession. I'm a software engineer. I have a
Mhm.
master's in IT, and I love coding.
Yeah.
So my first business, I was making money, but I couldn't live off of it. But I'm wondering, I've pivoted since then, and I'm wondering how long did it take you to really learn how to find your target audience? Because a lot of times you think the people who are going to be interested in
Yeah.
your program aren't the people who are going to be interested. So how when did you really get that develop the skill to find your
Uh,
target audience?
like I said, I've been in business for 23 years. Probably after 15 years. I mean,
Okay.
it took me a long time to really learn and understand the mechanics of building a business plan, right? Right now, it's so easy to start a business.
Mhm.
You think about 20, 30 years ago, you probably had to have a full written business plan, go to a bank, take out a loan, and start that business that way. And so to do that, you had to have some skill, you had to have some training, you had to have some understanding, you had to know how to create a business plan that a banker was
Mhm.
going to take seriously. Now you can start a business with like 35 bucks. So
Yeah.
because of the barrier, that barrier of entry is so low, people can start it with just an idea. And the thing that I learned very quickly is that your ideas mean absolute crap because you're not the one buying your product or service. So one of the first things that I have entrepreneurs do, if they're burning out, if they're not burning out, if they're just starting their business, I make them do market research, because if they don't get out and start talking to their ideal client right away, they're building a business plan on something that may never float.
That's great advice. 'Cause I was just about to ask you about market research, and just the example that you gave of businesses back in the day, they had to do all of that research. They had to
Mm-hmm.
do market research. They had to put
Out the
together a
butt.
plan and really understand their audience to get that loan in the first place. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. They pretty much got to that stage before they even started the business.
Yeah, I mean,
So
there was so much work that they did before they began. And now we think of, okay, I'm hanging my shingle, I'm starting my business, but we don't do that work, or we do it in
mhm,
piecemeals. Like we have an aha moment here and there over 3 to 5 years. And then it takes us so long to become profitable. And it's just because we're missing foundational pieces that a lot of people don't teach, that a lot of people don't even know. A lot of business coaches out there are teaching what they stumbled across and they got lucky, and they're repeating it to someone else, but they don't know how to actually teach this stuff in a down to earth practical way, because let's be honest, none of us wanted to go to business school. Like, we just want to start a business. Like, we don't want to be like experts
yeah,
at business, but we do need those foundational skills. We need to understand, what is the most practical way that I can do market research so that I'm not wasting 3 to 5 years of trial and error, which is essentially
yeah,
what most people are doing because they don't have that initial market research.
yeah. They stay in the area for way too long when
Mhm.
they should have pivoted. It probably, like you said, like after the first year.
Yeah.
I remember listening to one of your videos, and I believe you spoke about the stages of burnout. Could you
Yeah.
go over those?
Oh gosh, I don't even know if I could pull those out of my head right now. Hold on. Let me pull up my notes and we'll go over those. I know that the first one most definitely is the honeymoon stage, because that is where we all start. We're super excited. We're like, we want to just go, go, go. We want to do all of the things. We are so happy. We are willing to do, pull these 16-hour days. But that is always the first stage of burnout, because that's where we drain our cup. That's where we empty ourselves and we forget to take care of ourselves so that we are not, uh, you know, winding down that same path that everybody else goes through.
Okay. That's the first stage. Is there any other?
There are, but I cannot pull them out of my head, and I'm trying to find my
That's
notes on them.
that's fine. That's fine. One of the things that I'm really that I'm wondering is that during this burnout stage and when you're not being profitable,
Yeah.
how do you conquer doubt? Like, what things did you do to get over your doubt?
I had to do a lot of mindset work. I actually started as a coach, as a mindset coach, because when I burnt out, so many
Mhm.
of my business problems, my burnout problems were mindset related. It was because of the way that I was thinking about marketing. It was the way that I was thinking about asking for support, or whether or not I should ask for support. I had it in my mind that if I was successful, or if I was going to be successful, I had to figure it out myself, that asking for help, that meant I couldn't be successful. So there was so much mindset work that I did that when I closed my first business, I spent 2 or 3 years just personal development, just like licking my wounds, healing my own thoughts and beliefs about myself, about business, about money, about all of these things, because all of those conscious or unconscious beliefs, that's what's going to direct our energy and our attention and our focus and the actions that we take. You're not going to be able to charge appropriately. My first business, I was not charging appropriately because of my
Yeah.
thoughts around money, right? So
Yeah.
being able to heal all of those things, that was the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Based off that answer, I'm guessing that you weren't charging enough. That's what
Oh,
and you weren't charging enough to live off of,
no.
basically.
No, I
Yeah.
was not charging enough. I was paying my contractors too much. Because
Mhm.
I wasn't charging enough, so I had to give them a bigger cut than you could live off of. And then everything else was going to business expenses. And I just now, to like, it's so obvious to me now. I look at it and I'm like, duh, the numbers are just not there. How did I expect
Mhm.
this to lead to this without, you know what I mean? There's so
Yeah.
many obvious things, but when you're in the thick of it, and especially with newer business owners, you don't see that stuff. Like, you are so blinded by all of the details. You're so overwhelmed by all of the activity that's going on and all the things you need to do, that the stuff that is going to make the biggest difference, it's right in front of you, but you cannot see it because you're just in a state of overwhelm.
You know, you mentioned you did a lot of mindset work.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm really big on self-development books. I buy a lot of self-development books. I'm
Yep.
really big on spirituality, the universe, how our thinking affects our outcome. What books did you read specifically that helped you? If you could just name a
Yeah.
few, like your best, your favorite one.
You know what was my favorite one that nobody would ever expect? It's called Nonviolent Communication. It's
Oh,
about communicating. It's about how we connect with other people outside of the behavior, outside of the action, the reaction. It's about understanding, how am I feeling and what am I needing, and how is that changing how I'm acting or reacting, right? So if somebody's procrastinating, I get a lot of people come to me and they're like, I just struggle with procrastination. I want to do the thing, I'm excited to do the thing, and then it comes down to do it and I find anything else to do. Why am I doing that? Well, okay, let's look. That's the external, that's the behavior. What's underneath that? How are you feeling before that? What kind of emotions are coming up as you sit down to think about it? Or as you think about, once you do it, what will happen? And then what are those emotions telling you about your underlying needs? So here's a great example. I had a gal who, she wanted to be more visible on social media. She wanted to put more of her story into her posts, but she had actually been through a trauma years before of somebody who had stolen her identity, like stolen her ID, and made threats
wow.
against her and her family. So she was very uncomfortable putting herself and her family on social media, even though all of the best advice was saying, like, this is, and it was good advice. This would have been a good thing for her business. But her underlying needs for safety and security were screaming at her not to do this. So she was sitting here being told by other mindset coaches that she has a block, that she's got some belief saying that she can't do it or she can't be successful or whatever. And she's telling the reason why she has this block. And I talked to her and I'm like, instead of calling this a block, why don't we look at this like a need? Because safety and security is a very legitimate need. What are some ways that you can meet that need, but also meet this need for growth in your business, progress, right? Putting yourself out there in this way. And literally within 3 minutes of understanding, here's how I'm feeling, here's the underlying need that these behaviors are trying to meet, we could find solutions that would allow her to put herself out there in a way that felt safe for her, and her business could finally start moving forward. So like
What happened?
that book, Nonviolent Communication, understanding emotions and underlying needs, not wants, but needs, that I think it's a huge part of my work. And it's a huge part of what moved me forward, because I used it just to communicate with myself. If we don't know how to communicate with ourselves and understand why we're doing what we're doing, we're going to keep doing it.
What weren't you giving yourself in your first business that you're now giving to yourself in your second business?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Time off. I worked 7 days a week, 16 hours a day at my first business. I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
I faith, permission to learn, to, if I get stuck, you know what, somebody else already has this answer. Who can I go to for this answer? Let me take the smart path instead of just trying to DIY this for years. I think a big part of it was not so much what I'm giving myself permission for now, or what I'm giving myself now, but what I gave myself years ago that allowed me to finally move forward, which was, let me get educated. Let me build up my own sense of self, my own belief. Like, confidence isn't the belief that you can do anything. It's the belief that you can handle anything, right? Like, building up that confidence, building up that belief, skilling up, just building the actual skills behind a business, not the skills to deliver the product or service that you're known for, right? Everybody gets into business because they're good at something, but that doesn't make you good at business. Get skilled up at business, at data, at tracking, analytics, all of your numbers, bookkeeping, hiring, firing, managing people, managing your time, learning how to prioritize. Those are the skills that trip up the most people, not the marketing. Marketing matters, but even just the foundations of marketing, understanding marketing so that you know how to make a marketing plan. Those
Yeah.
it's that foundational stuff that so many of us are missing.
That's some great points. I'm curious, as you were transitioning from the first to the second business, you were working 16 hours a week. How did it negatively impact your marriage? Because the reason I ask that is because a lot of people who are starting this is a common issue with people who
Yeah,
are starting like their business. Either they're in a relationship or it's preventing them from even
finding.
pursuing a relationship.
Yeah,
I used to think I played college football, so I thought that I needed to focus on school and football. I didn't have time for a relationship. I had to focus on me, and it really wasn't the truth. You can
right.
build with somebody, but
Yes,
sometimes we
absolutely.
let our goals get in the way of a romantic life. How did you
Absolutely.
handle that?
My husband's also an entrepreneur. He owns a business as well. So we
Okay.
have kind of a double edged sword. Also, divorce rates are highest among entrepreneurs.
Oh wow,
So
I did
it
not
is,
know that.
yeah, I didn't know that until about a year ago. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because marriage
Yeah.
is hard. Let's say that relationships are hard. And then when you add in this business that is like a baby that keeps you up all night, that adds an element of challenge to it. You add in another business and maybe one person is running two businesses even. It gets trickier and trickier. For us back in the day, we just never saw each other. We didn't go out on a date. I was too tired to function. He didn't have his own business at that time, but it was just we were always stressed. We were always tired. I never was there for family dinner. Him and my son would
Mm.
have dinner all the time and I was working. Like
Wow.
I just couldn't shut it off. And that's partially, like hyper focused, you get into that mode and you can't shut it off. And partially it's because I didn't want to shut it off. I wanted to figure this out. I was determined to make this work. And
You wanted to win.
I wanted to win. I'm like you, like Gary Vee excites me and I
Yeah.
get all amped
Yeah.
up with all that kind of stuff. But I have to constantly remind myself this isn't what I want. It doesn't matter if I'm in
Mhm.
hyper focus mode. It doesn't matter if I want to keep working. How's my body feeling right now? How's my mind feeling right now? Am I giving this my best? Or could I take a break, refill my cup, spend some time with other people, remember that
Yeah.
there's a world out there, come back tomorrow and do better. So now after being together so long and we both have big businesses that we're running, now it is a very careful balance. Neither one of us work past 4. Usually I'm done long before that, but his job takes him out more. So at 4 o'clock, we're done. There's no phones. We don't do like the whole evening is together. We make dinner together. We have dinner together. If we watch something, we're watching something together. We make sure to pad in extra time together without talking about business, which is really, really hard when he's married to a business coach. We talk about business
Yeah.
a lot, but just making that time and saying, okay, this is having the boundary and saying, this is work time, this is non-work time. And then during that non-work time, what are we needing? Are we needing more time together? Maybe we're needing more time apart. Maybe we need to figure out some meal prep because we're both tired and we don't want to cook, right? Like what are some
Mhm.
things that we can do to just make it better for us to meet our needs, whether they're our health needs, our relationship needs, our family needs, whatever it might be.
One thing that stuck out to me is that you said that he was not an entrepreneur at the beginning. So right now you guys seem like you're aligned. You're aligned,
Mm-hmm.
you're on the same path, but at some point in time there had to be some level of friction. How supportive was your husband, and how important is it to have the support of your
Yeah.
spouse or girlfriend or your significant other?
That's a great question. He's always been really supportive, even when he didn't understand what was going on. So that hasn't ever really been a challenge, but there have been moments along the way where it's like he didn't know how to support. It's not that he didn't
Mhm.
want to, it's not that he didn't believe in it, but it was just like, I don't get it. I don't understand why you're investing this time or this money, or, I'm not comfortable
Mhm.
with that or whatever it is. And there's definitely been times, less so around the business, but more so around mindset, where
Mm.
I'm doing exponential personal growth. Like I'm like in a season of just massive emotional, spiritual development, and he does not understand it. I'm using new language. I'm consuming books and podcasts, and I'm doing all these practices, and I'm changing, and that was making him very uncomfortable.
That was my next question.
Yes.
Because you are evolving, you're into
Yes.
self-improvement. You probably wanted him to be into self-improvement on some degree.
Yeah.
So how was it for you as somebody that's a high achiever, a
Yeah.
go-getter, somebody that's in self-improvement? You were with a partner that's kind of just
It,
doing their own thing.
Yeah,
How
and
did that
he's not a
impact
high achiever. He's a very laid back dude, even in his business. Like he's not a Gary V at
you?
all. Like
Chill. Yeah.
very, very chill. We're a good balance. Yeah, I talk about it. I actually did a YouTube video on this a while back, and he was actually in that video. So if anybody wants to watch
Oh,
it, they can search. I think if you search my name, Tara Wagner, and married entrepreneurs, it'll pull up. But I talk about this idea of, like, when you're in a relationship, picture a rubber band going around the two of you. And there will be times in the relationship where one of you is pulling forward. And what's going to end up happening is you will get that tension between you. And two things are going to happen. Either that tension is going to break, which means that relationship just could not sustain the change that was happening, which probably is for a good thing. That relationship probably would have broken at some point, or that
okay.
tension is going to force them forward, whether they like it or not. They're gonna go along with you. And I've always
Mm.
found that in my relationship, I would go forward 5-10 steps, and he would pull against it, and like, no, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And it might create some tension, it might create some arguments, lots of conversations, or I would try to get him to listen to something. But the more that I was just like, you know what, he'll catch up when he catches up, the faster he would catch up. It was like there would be less tension, less pulling back against whatever I was doing. If I was just like, that's cool. If you're not into this, if you're not ready for that, that's okay. And if there were things that I was developing in myself that made me want to change things in our life and he wasn't ready for it, again, I would go back to that nonviolent communication. Okay, how is he feeling? What is he needing? What are some ways that I can honor his needs? Because I chose to be with this person. We're
Mhm.
in it to win it. So we're a partnership. If he's not comfortable, he's not ready, what's the compromise? What's a way that I can meet my needs, but also honor, respect, and meet his needs? I never want to force, like, I always want it to be inspired, not required. But also, it's marriage, and sometimes you're going to want to force it. And so
Yeah.
it comes back to that communication and understanding each other's needs, and being willing to sit down and figure that out together, figure out what that looks like. How do I honor my needs and your needs? And that does not always happen in one conversation. Like, sometimes that would be weeks or months of conversations before things would really start to balance back out again.
I've never experienced that in a romantic relationship, but I have experienced it with my friendships. As
Yes.
when you're changing, you're reading these books, you're putting in the extra effort, you're watching your diet, you're doing any kind of
Yeah.
significant change,
It's
people
hard.
notice.
Hmm.
And you do have friends who support you. Some friends are who are, they're on the wire, and you have other friends that are haters,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering, like, I've definitely lost some friends down the road.
Yeah.
You just how you said your husband, you were 5 steps ahead and he caught up 5 steps. So some of my friends got with the program, and other friends just became like enemies. Like they compared, they based their personal value off of my position in life.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, for you, have you encountered any kind of issues with friends as you're pursuing your entrepreneurial self-improvement journey?
Yes, in large part because, so I have a lot of health conditions. I have to be very mindful of how I treat my body. I don't stay up late. I don't party. I don't drink. I don't go out to eat all the time. Like, all that stuff doesn't happen. We made this amazing group of friends, but slowly what we were finding was that they were going out more, they were drinking more, they wanted us to stay out late. That's just not our jam. I loved them
Mm.
to death, but I had to come to a place of acceptance of, they're on their journey, they're living their life, they're having the experiences that they need to have. I love them, but that doesn't mean that this is the right thing for either one of us anymore. And some relationships I've had to let go of. Some relationships I was able to say, you know what, we're radically different people now, but that's okay. We still have this middle ground. We still have these things that we can connect around. Let's have fun with that. Some people
Mhm.
did change, but for me, I feel like my life lesson has always been just radical acceptance, surrender, allowing what is to be what is, and focusing on what I know I need to do, which is not something that I enjoy or find to be
Mhm.
easy, which is why it's a
Yeah.
life lesson for me.
It's evolution. It's
It
evolution. We
is.
all get there. It's a it shows like you've hit a level of maturity that you need to get to basically feel healthy. Or there was a lot of friction. You wanted things to be a certain way, but once you accepted it for
Yeah.
what it was, you kind of just
Yeah.
started living and
Yeah, and
relaxing.
it's heartbreaking because you will lose people along the way, because business will change you, or any goal you
Mhm.
have is going to change you. It's going to change your habits, it's going to change your mindset, it's going to change your interests. That's normal and natural. And you will have some people that are like, "Well, what happened? You changed." And you just have to
Mhm.
be willing to say, "Yeah, people change." Like, we're supposed to grow, we're supposed to change. Maybe that's not what they're here for, at least in this season of life. That's okay. But we still have to embrace the change that we know that we're ready for, because it is a normal, natural thing. That is the thing that sets humans apart, is the fact that we are constantly growing and developing and expanding. And
True.
we're addicted to progress, we're addicted to
Mhm.
moving forward. Not everybody. Some people are holding on for dear life,
Yeah.
but if you're moving forward, you have to be very mindful who you surround yourself with, find the circles that will
Yes.
support you, and just love and accept that not everybody's on the same path.
That's very true. I remember one of the mistakes I used to do is that as I was improving and doing things and reading books, I'll recommend books to friends, or I would just like try to get
Mm,
them to get into the things that I was into.
right.
And I didn't get anywhere with it.
Right.
There's a quote that goes, "I got tired of trying to change my friends. So I got tired of trying to change the people I hung out with. So I changed the people I hung out with."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. I joined entrepreneurial groups, joined programs with other YouTubers or programs with other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And instead of worrying about what friends and family and people on other social media applications think about me, I started just focusing more primarily on my new group, my social
Yeah.
media group, where we were all excited about what we're posting and giving each other advice and trying to improve in that area of our life.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I know that I took a look at your channel. You've been off of YouTube for a year now,
Over a year. Yeah.
over a year. Okay.
Hmm.
What have you been up to? Like, what's going on? Where are you at right
I've
now?
been growing my business without social media, and I gotta say, I really like it.
Okay.
I'm still active in my Facebook groups. I'm still active, like the groups that I run. I'm still active in my newsletter. I'm marketing through ads primarily because it's simple, it's sustainable. I can outsource it. There's very little that I have to do with it. And, it's, I'm loving it. I miss YouTube. I've been thinking lately, like, yeah, I want to go back, but I will probably go back differently. I don't know if I'll go back
Mhm.
to making a video every single week. I'd rather make, a video a month and just put more into one video. But at this stage, I don't need it. I took the time off because last year I developed long COVID, and I was so sick that I could not create any more content.
Mhm.
And so at first I figured, you know what, I'll just take a few months off. I'm sure I'll be feeling fine. And a few months turned into a very long time. I'm still recovering from long COVID. I'm at the
Wow.
place now where I could potentially go back into it, but it would still put a strain on my system. And so I'm just enjoying this slower pace and, moving forward in my marketing plan. It doesn't have to, your marketing plan is allowed to evolve as your business evolves. And I think that developing long COVID helped me to realize that I had evolved to the place where I could let go of those things. I held on to them because I felt like I needed to still be visible. And now
Mhm.
I'm just like, wow, I actually don't need to. Look at that. It's amazing. So yeah, I've been enjoying just the slower pace.
You're one of the few entrepreneurs that, at least I hear on social media, that talks about how you don't need social media to
Yeah.
be successful.
Yeah.
Because of that, I'm kind of curious, like, how do you remain profitable by
Yeah.
not, living by today's standards of being on social media? Like, how did you get the confidence to get off of social media? And like, what are the
Yeah.
type of things that you're doing? Because I'm guessing you're doing things that businesses have traditionally done
Yeah.
for
So
generations. So
I'll give a crash course for anybody listening. There's three main marketing avenues that every business has to choose between. One of them is what I call connections. One is called content, which includes things like social media, and the other one is advertising. Connections is your fastest way to build your business. If somebody's new, if somebody is building their own audience, don't waste time on social media. You can start it, that's fine, but social media is slow to build. Whereas connections, which could be something like getting on podcasts or running your own podcast, bringing people into it. It could be, doing some sort of virtual event where other people are bringing their audience to you. It could be pounding pavement, knocking on doors, cold calling, emailing,
mm,
anything that puts you into connection with your ideal client in the most intimate way possible, right? So people that do a lot of outreach on social media, like they're, sliding into your DMs and talking to you about stuff. That's a form of outreach. People do it because it works. Yes, it annoys people, but it's a numbers game. And if you don't care if it annoys people, it's going to work. So that's one method. And connections, anything having to do with connections, that's usually the place that I tell people to start. If they like social media, cool, start social media in the background. Just know it's going to take some time to build that platform up until the
mhm,
algorithm starts working for you. And if you're doing
yeah.
that, focus on things that are search friendly like YouTube, because it will continue to work for you in the future. And then when you have the opportunity, as soon as I tell people, as soon as you have a sales funnel that converts, you see the data to know for every 100 people that go through this, I can expect this many sales. You start putting ads behind that and then scale it. As soon as you get your ads figured out, that's a process itself. Then you scale those ads.
That's a lot of game. Because as you were speaking, I'm just like sucking everything in
That
because
was a
I'm
crash
trying.
course. That was an entire module of marketing plans 101 dropped in
and,
60 seconds.
and it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because I know that connection is very important. And I've been reaching out to people, and I was able to get people on calls and whatnot. But based off of what you were saying, I was thinking, it made me think like, oh, that's why webinars are so powerful, because
Yeah,
you're able to
it's the
get
connection.
people on a video. You can talk to them about their issues, talk to them about whatever you're selling, or your or whatever like your skill set is, and people get familiar with who you are.
Yeah.
I actually, like, my social media journey has not been the best, I would say. YouTube, there is an algorithm. There are certain things that you need to do. It took
Yeah.
me years to realize that. Once I bought a book and I kind of followed the steps in the book, I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
like I see why it was sucking. But I kind of got lucky on TikTok. I hired somebody to create shorts for me,
Yeah.
and I wasn't posting on TikTok, and the
Yeah.
guy was getting pissed off. And I said, okay, man, I'll post. And then I had one post that got me about 17 million views.
Nice.
And
Well
then the
done.
next day, I created another post and I got 10 million views. So my TikTok, I don't know. And I think TikTok is I don't think it's for everybody, because I know
Yeah.
people who've been on it
It's
who
not.
have better videos. And I think sometimes you just get lucky or you get chosen, because now I can put whatever I want to on TikTok. I can put a completely black screen on TikTok and it just pushes
Yeah.
all of my content. It pushes it like I can see it every day. So
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a luck game, and I guess you just kind of
Some of it is a luck game. Some of it is a skill game. I have heard
yeah.
great things from TikTok. TikTok also has a great search engine. So a lot of people are
Oh,
using TikTok to search. So that could be another way to show up.
oh
It's,
wow.
I mean, there's so many things that a person can do. You have to, again, it goes back to, what are your values? What are your goals? What's your definition of success? My definition of success is not being on my phone all the time. I used to do a lot of photography, and I was always behind the camera, never present. And then I switched out my big DSLR camera for the iPhone camera, and I was always on my phone, never present. And when
Mhm.
I broke my camera one time, and we were traveling at the time, and I couldn't take pictures, and I realized the difference in my experience. That's when I realized I don't want to be on social media. It doesn't work for me. Even if it was viral, I would not enjoy it. And so it always comes back to what aligns for you. And then are you willing to put in the work to figure out that platform? Because there will be skills involved in that platform.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Every platform's different.
Yeah.
And I can definitely identify with you when it comes to getting annoyed by social media, because I just noticed myself just like working, and because
Mhm.
work is stressful itself. And then I have so many people messaging me for work, and then
Yeah.
my phone is going off so many
Hard to
times.
have boundaries.
Exactly. So exactly. So what I did is I actually bought a second phone just for social media. And my
Mhm.
primary phone, I just leave that with me all the time. And I check that
Yep.
social media phone probably once every 2 days or
Yeah.
so. But it helped me clear my mind. It helped me
Yes.
relax, because when I wasn't relaxed, I noticed that I was stressful. I noticed that I would snack a lot more.
Mhm.
It was harder for me to maintain my diet. I don't know how the body works, but I noticed that
Yeah.
with myself is that I would just start, I would get up, leave the house, and just go get like something to snack on that wasn't always healthy, some sugar or something.
Yeah.
But you
Stress
hit the
and how our body reacts to stress is really, really fascinating. For me, I use the focus modes on the iPhone. Well, number one, I don't have any social media apps on my phone anymore unless I'm like selling something on Marketplace and I need to be able to answer
yeah,
people's messages fast. I have all of my notifications turned off. I have my Gmail app in case I need to access it or I need to check in, but all the notifications are off on that. And then I still use focus mode just so I don't get text messages when I'm trying to do this, or, if I'm trying to go to sleep. It's like we really have to draw boundaries with our devices, because devices are intentionally designed to addict you. Like if you've
yeah,
seen all those documentaries, it's creepy how well they're designed to get you to be sucked in. And as a business owner, you can't have boundaries. Like, if you have somebody email you at 9 o'clock at night with a problem, you're going to feel inclined to solve that
answer
problem for
that phone.
them
Yeah,
instead of just waiting until business hours.
that's a great point. That's a really good point. I'm curious, the people who actually work with you, what is the most
Mhm.
common issue that
Hmm.
they deal with?
Overwhelm. Oh, they will call it overwhelm. I will call it prioritization. The majority of them do not understand that prioritization is a skill that you learn. And so they
Mhm.
do not know how to say, this is the number one thing I need to be doing right now. This is what comes next. These things I don't even need to look at right now. And just
Mhm.
like if somebody comes into my program, I have like one lesson just dedicated to, let me teach you how to prioritize. Let me teach you just a simple method where like you can sit down in 15 minutes a week and say, here's what I'm focusing on over this next week. Here's what I'm not focusing on. Here's how I plan for distractions. Here's how I plan for things that, may come up that may throw my plan out the window. Here's how I reprioritize essentially. Like learning that skill, I'm surprised how life-changing that one skill is for the majority of my clients. Once they master that, they can then start thinking straight. They're not so like just mentally fatigued and scattered all over the place, and they start making better decisions in other areas. They can take in what they need to take in to make the changes they need to make. I mean, it's just, yeah, it surprises me. It still surprises me, but I would say that's the number one thing is prioritization.
I can kind of relate to what they were going through, because I know, because I'm going through it now. Like I know where they had to be at. They probably felt like they had to do so many different
Mhm.
things, or they had to always keep working, keep hustling. But really, when you realize, once you slow down, you prioritize, everything starts to come together better. And then you
Yeah.
actually have like the analytics make more sense. You
Yeah.
know where to put more of your energy into, you know where to not put your energy into. And
And you end up
it
getting
helps
more
in other
done.
areas.
You
Yeah.
get more
Yeah.
done because you learn how to focus. We lose so much time and energy to jumping between all of these different tasks and projects and platforms and all the things we're told we're supposed to do. But if you give yourself to the permission to just do less, I'm going to focus on one platform. I'm going to focus on one offer. I'm going to focus on, one thing at a time. If you just give yourself permission to do that, you regain all of that lost energy to context switching, and you end up making more progress. It feels slower at first because you're working on one
Yeah.
thing instead of 10 things, but that one thing gets done faster than those 10 things were going to get done.
It's not quantity, it's quality. When you
Mhm.
have that one thing, even I noticed that even with the YouTube, with my when I first started my channel, I felt like I had to have content every day. So I
Yeah.
was stressing myself every weekend to put something out every day. And then I realized that because there wasn't I want to say like the duration between my videos and the combination of that with clips and shorts, that
Yeah.
was actually hurting my channel. I thought
Mhm.
that I needed more to explode, but really what I need to do is slow down, create quality content, and give the algorithm something that it could read
Yeah.
and potentially push my content to the right type of people.
Yeah.
But it takes time. I'm wondering, people who come to you, what stage are they at usually within their business? Are they at the beginning stages, mid stages, or are you helping them clean up the business typically? Where
You
are they at?
know, it's all different stages. I love working with different businesses from different industries from at different stages because I love variety. That's just one of my values, and so I've built that into my business. I get a fair amount of people who have burned out in a previous business and are starting a new one, want to do it better, or they've burned out just in life, work or family or whatever. They're wanting to start a business, but they have to be mindful about it. They're very conscious of burnout being an issue, though. Or
Mhm.
I work a lot with people who are in those middle stages. They're not quite to the point where they are feeling financially secure. They're making money, but it's not quite enough yet. And they're struggling because it's like, I'm already doing so much. How do I grow? How do I do more when I've only got so many hours in the day? And I'll tell you the secret to it. It's not about doing more, it's about doing less strategically, picking and choosing the right things that you're doing and letting go of some stuff that you probably do not want to let go of. Simply because it's like, what is it, Pareto's law or Parkinson's law, the 80-20 rule?
Parkinson's.
Is it Parkinson's
Wait,
law?
let me see.
I can
Let
never
me make
remember. I
sure.
always get those two mixed up.
We have
Whatever
time.
it
Let me see
is,
Parkinson's law.
yeah, so it's 20% of your efforts are bringing in 80% of the results. Well, if that's the case, why not double down on the 20%, do it 40% of the time and drop the rest of it? I mean, that's literally, if people can figure that out, they probably don't even need me.
There's a lot of talk on the internet right now about building your personal brand, and they make
Mm,
people feel stupid for focusing on trying to build their business, trying to focus on sales immediately.
yeah,
They say it's kind of grimy, it's kind of slimy, but there's a lot of push to build your personal brand. You've been
yeah.
in business for a number of years. Where do you think people should put their focus? Should it be in building the brand of the business, or should it be in the
No,
building the brand of the self?
it should be in making money. Period.
Okay.
What's going to make money the fastest? Even if it's imperfect, even if it's not money that you want to, like something you want to be doing forever. For instance, I have a lot of people that come in like they're coaches or consultants or therapists or something like that. And they don't want to be doing one-on-one client work forever. They want to be doing
Mhm.
something else, but one-on-one client work is closest to cash and they don't have cash. So that's where you start and then you can build out this other thing. Like cash flow is king, and in a business you don't have a business technically, according to the IRS. You don't have a business unless you're making money. What do you need to do
Yeah.
to make money? Like focus on that first and then improve from there.
That's great advice. I was kind of torn between because I'm going to start taking TikTok more seriously. I really don't take. I really don't. I'm so
Yeah,
lazy at it. But I have a large following on it, and I was
yeah,
thinking like, man, I'm not sure how this following is going to relate to my business. But based off what you're saying, because I've had companies reach out to me for TikTok, but based off you're saying, like whatever's working for you, whatever God the universe gave you, put your energy into that, and
yeah,
pay the bills.
yeah. What I would tell anybody if they're in that process of like, I'm creating lots of content, I'm building my audience, I don't have a revenue stream, I would pause what you're doing, come up with a revenue stream, something that is not reliant on, like if somebody's revenue stream is YouTube ads, that's great, but that's a bonus revenue stream in my mind. Come up with a service, come up with a product, because every single piece of your content should in some way lead to a sale, lead to a newsletter sign up, which is going to lead to a sale, or it's going to promote it, or it's going to mention it, or it's going to nurture somebody who's thinking about it. You can do a lot of great value-based content that is still also sales-based. Do not be afraid of sales. Every email you send should have at least a little PS at the bottom that says, hey, if you want more help with this, here's where you go to get this product or this service that I offer. Like, you're a business. Don't be afraid to be a business.
That's great advice. I'm sucking this in. I'm torn between having the interview for the podcast and then also registering everything in the planet to my business. I want to talk about your scheduling. You mentioned in one of your videos gamifying your schedule. What do you mean by gamifying it, and how does it help benefit the entrepreneur?
Gamifying their schedule. There's a lot of different ways you could gamify anything, but it's really just about like making things fun for you. So that could be different for different people. For me, yeah, I'm trying to remember do you remember which video that was about, or which video that was from?
I don't, but I'm trying to think about what you said. You mentioned that you want to gamify your schedule because it gives you some kind of reward for doing certain things, I believe. It was something along those lines.
So if somebody is struggling with, a lot of people struggle with time management. They struggle with giving themselves a schedule and sticking to it, right? It's easy when you have a boss saying these are the hours you're going to work. It's a lot harder when you're your own boss. So doing something that will make it fun and make it rewarding. If that means, you know what, I'm going to get these most important income producing tasks done first. And when I do that, I'm going to go and, eat some gummy bears, or I'm going to, like whatever it is, like whatever you need to do to reward yourself, because what ends up happening there is you're just giving yourself little dopamine hits for getting things done. For me, like I've been doing this for so long, it's hardwired into me. I can't not get things done now because it's become such a habit. But gamification, rewards, anything like, I use ClickUp. If you mark something as done, sometimes you'll get like a little thing that flies across the screen to celebrate it. All of those are little dopamine hits. If you make a list of all the things you did that day, not yet that you're going to do, but at the end of the day, you make a list of all the things you did and cross stuff off, that's a dopamine hit. So every time you do those little things, you give yourself those little dopamine hits, it makes it addictive to do the right thing, to do the thing you need to do. So gamification, like I use gamification in a lot of different ways. It's just a matter of making life fun, right? Instead of, I gotta sit down and do this. It's okay, I'm excited to do this. And when I do this, I'm going to celebrate with this thing.
I actually did. I used to be 200 because of football. I used to be 243 pounds. And I remember I struggled to lose weight. And it wasn't until I gamified it. I didn't use that word, but I used to wake up in the morning and I'll say, okay, after I do this workout, I'll give myself this steak. And as I'm working out, I'll be thinking about that steak the whole time. When I get to the house, I'm like, okay, I'll just be excited as a reward to have that steak. So
that's
it does
true.
work. Even with kids.
I needed to eat more salads. And I was just like, I just don't love a salad. What's going to make this salad more fun? Steak. So every salad, man, got a little piece of steak. Now, because, you rewire your chemistry through the foods that you eat as well. Now I'm like addicted to having salads every single lunch. I don't want to have anything else. So you use the things that you have accessible to you to make it addictive to do the things that you need to do. And if that means covering your salad in steak or ranch or whatever, you do that because it's still the salad. You're still getting the benefits. You just do what you can do, or do whatever you can come up with to have fun, to enjoy life. There's so many things to not enjoy. We have so many reasons to not be grateful, or to be stressed out, or to be worried, or to be angry, or to be offended, or to be upset, or to be depressed. What are we doing to counterbalance that? Like, have some fun. If you need to put gummy bears
Tara,
on your salad, put gummy bears on your salad. I don't care. Have some fun.
I love gummy bears, gummy
Me too.
worms, all of those.
Me too.
That's what I snack
Mine are
on.
organic at least.
Oh wow. I have ending question.
Yeah.
This is for the watcher, the viewer. What is your philosophy for life?
Oh, depends on my mood. You know, I went through this experience years ago. I was studying meditation at an ashram, actually, in the US,
Mm.
and had this experience in meditation of realizing that life is a play, and we are the actor, and we are the playwright, and we are the director, and we are the audience, and we're the backstage hand. We're the characters. And we get lost in our character. We forget that we're the actor on the stage. You know how you hear about those actors, they get lost in their character and they just like go crazy.
Mhm.
We're the actors getting lost in the play. And that hit me in such a powerful way that I just started realizing all of life is a play. All this is supposed to be fun. I don't need to get lost in my character. I can have fun with my character. My character can have emotions. My character can have good days and bad days. But anytime I start feeling overwhelmed by life, I have built this habit of just taking a deep breath and reminding myself, don't get lost in your character. Like none of this is really real. None of this is really going to matter 1,000 years from now. Like this tiny little blip is going to be gone 1,000,000 years from now. Other people on other planets, I assume, think we're all crazy. You know, like it's you. I just learned to not take life so seriously because I'm a very serious, intense person anyway. And from that moment on, I was just a lighter person. I can still go very deep, get very serious, but it really does come down to playfulness and doing what you can do to make the difference that you can make so that you can enjoy your life in the way that you want to enjoy it.
It's crazy how aligned we all are. Everybody I've asked that question to, I've given like a similar
Yeah.
answer, just in
Yeah.
a different way. And we all kind of lose ourselves and somewhere along the line in life, and
It's not
we have to take the
interesting.
steps to get back there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. It's wild.
It really is. I mean, truth is universal, right? Like there are certain things that we may use different words to describe it, but we're all kind of having the same experience.
Yeah.
And understanding that, I mean, that just helps me to understand other people. It helps me to be more patient and kind to other people. Some people make it especially hard, but it's
Hmm.
just, you know, yeah, I just always try to remember that nothing I'm going through is that serious. Even the serious health things that I've gone through or losing people or, all of that, I like to remind myself like first world problems. There's so much worse out there. And, what good is it going to do if I let myself feel like crap? I cannot make a difference anywhere if I am stressed out, depressed, angry, frustrated. I'm going to make a better difference if I am centered, grounded, clear minded, if I'm healthy, if I am at peace, if I am in a place of love. That's when I can make a difference, right? If there's a topic, if there's an issue, if there's a situation, a circumstance, whatever it is that I don't like in the world, I need to ask myself, like, how does my best self show up to this? Because if I'm not showing up as my best self, I'm not doing my best. I'm not making the best impact that I can make. But for me, it comes down to play and being silly and having fun and laughing and remembering that it doesn't have to be as serious as it feels.
Tara, thank you for
You're
those
welcome.
the final words. It
You're
was
very
it was a great
welcome.
message. And yeah, thank you for being here. And I guess this is the Philosophy for Life podcast, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.